Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles. I am Ross Bolen, joined today by my buddy Mr. Barrett Dudley, as always, to bring you the best TV shows and movies weekly in an easily digestible podcast packed with laughs. Barrett, how many times since we met in Little League Baseball have I told you, again and again, never trust a clockmaker?
Yes. Well, I mean, we've always said it. But now we also know that anytime you confront an older version of yourself, they are lying to you.
Just all out, whatever they say, you believe the opposite.
You do the opposite.
Do the opposite of what the future or past version of you tells you to do.
Yeah, much like George Costanza, is able to do the opposite of what he does the opposite. He has an idea, he has a desire, he does the opposite, and that is how he succeeds in life.
Nothing in Costanza's life is working, so he starts to do the opposite of every impulse he has, and everything falls into place.
Yes.
Just like that. Same exact thing.
That's right.
We're obviously going to be closing out our coverage of Dark, the final episode of actually really covering episodes 5 through 8 of the final season, season 3.
5 through 8 of the final season,
but the
series
finale,
as a whole.
The finale is going to be the majority of the talk, probably.
Yes.
And then we will get into Perry Mason, episode 5, but we have some light and fun shit to discuss first. At least I hope. I actually don't know, in the form of Tidbits and Such with Barrett, so let's do it. Tidbits and Such with Barrett.
Yes.
Please be happy, though.
Oh, they're all mostly happy.
Okay,
yeah, they're pretty happy.
This is huge for us.
Let's start off with the one I'm least happy about here. There is going to be a YouTube TV price increase. I teased this last week,
right?
But I just wanted to throw it out there because it's a pretty significant bump. I think my rate without tax right now is $50 or $55, and I want to say that they're bumping it up to like $70
a month.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because I don't know anything about YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a boomer, and
yeah, you are.
So what
your cable habits are that
of a boomer.
Yes.
I pay $236 a month for cable and internet.
Only boomers do that. So,
yes, for 1,000 channels I've never watched. I haven't even turned on my television in 2020, and yet I continue to pay this bill every month. So what does YouTube? What is it? I mean, what do you get when you sign up with that $50 you've been paying?
YouTube TV is an internet streaming version of cable. You get the YouTube TV app, which is accessible from your phone, laptop, or device on your TV.
Like Apple TV?
Apple TV, yep.
Okay.
And then when you go to that app, you are in a cable-like
menu
experience. There's a guide. You can record shows. And YouTube TV especially has a lot of nice bonuses. Basically, you have like unlimited storage space. You can record as many shows as you want.
Is it in the cloud?
And they're all in the cloud. And they're
cloud.
they're easy to access. So you can, you can do all sorts of kind of unlimited stuff like that. You're not bound by any type of cable restrictions. There's no commitment. So you can do it month to month. You can cancel and you can rejoin, all that type of stuff. Now this price increase comes with them adding a bunch of channels, one of which is Paramount. So that's a small blessing there with the price increase. But the other stuff is like MTV and VH1 and like some other stuff that I don't really care about that much.
Is Yellowstone on Paramount?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so another question.
Yeah.
With YouTube TV, if it was me saying, well, Barrett, obviously this sounds like a much better deal than what I'm currently dealing with. I should just cancel all my cable and just keep my internet and then pay for YouTube TV. Even if it is $75 a month, that's an extreme drop in price from what I'm dealing with.
Right.
What is the downside? What am I missing? What am I not going to get?
So the downside is you are not going to get as crystal clear and perfect and reliable of a stream for live sports, which no longer exist. So it doesn't
fucking matter.
That does not matter.
Yeah.
But that's one of the main things is like, now YouTube TV is way, 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 way better than like trying to stream from the TNT or ESPN app.
Okay.
Where you get all like the glitchy footballs and like it keeps shutting down. No, it's way, way better.
Suddenly it bounces
that.
and you're 10 seconds behind and you're like, fuck, I have to refresh or something.
You don't deal with any of that. It's just not as like, you're just not going to get that like ultra.
It's not 4K the whole time.
It's not like 4K the whole time. Perfect. Never interrupts. Never. It's not that
because you're streaming.
That sports bar experience, right?
Sure.
So that's one thing. The other thing is that your YouTube TV access does not then grant you access into the apps from all of those channels like your cable subscription does.
Okay. So do you have to separately...
So like if I want to like log into the AMC app or the ESPN app,
You can't.
I got to use my another login, basically,
Okay.
a different login.
You got to score somebody's cable
I got to
login.
score somebody's cable login, which fortunately I have easy access to, but from a boomer.
From the boomers, yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody needs one, hit me up. Resident boomer now.
That's kind of another thing. But other than that, you really are losing very, very little.
Yeah, it's just come to a point. Like, I'll give you probably the worst example of all time. And I may have mentioned this last week, but Google Fiber, as I noticed, first of all, they don't give a shit about anything. They became just like every other cable company.
Yep.
When they launched, they were like, we're going to change this game. And then like 6 months in, they were like, this game is a nightmare. So let's pull out of the cities we were planning on building in, and we'll just stick with like Austin and a few others and just take the money that they give us, and that's it.
Yeah.
What I noticed is in February, they added it just says sports package. And it's $10 a month, and it doesn't even tell me what it entails on my bill, what that is. There haven't been any sports. What the fuck was I paying $10 a month for a sports package this whole time?
Yes, and at the very least, right now, I think we can trust somebody like Alphabet, Google, the YouTube TV provider, to be more upfront and clear because they are a piece of this like new wave. Mm-hmm. Now, in your case, because of our job here and our podcasting, you are doing this wildly expensive cable package as well as paying for all of the apps.
Right.
But for your everyday cord cutter such as myself, what the issue with this is that as all of the apps start doing this, as they slowly start climbing and being like, oh, well, you should be paying more for our service because we're constantly delivering you billions of dollars worth of content. Like we're just climbing back up to that big $250 number, basically.
Or we end up back where we started.
And that's really, really annoying. And I it's just curious because I think what that's going to lead to is a lot more service jumping. Because none of these things require commitments or year-long contracts or anything like that, and you can just come and go as you please.
Hit the show you want, cancel.
Yeah,
Go to
I
the next
foresee
thing.
a lot more. And it's annoying. So if you have the funds or just don't want to be bothered, then that's what they're hoping you'll feel like, and that you just won't do it.
I'm that idiot.
But it's like, where's that threshold? Mm-hmm. Once I'm paying $150 total a month, like I'm going to be like, you know what? I can hit pause on $8 for Disney Plus right now. And there's not really, like I'm out of Great British Baking Shows, and I just watched Ozark and just finished Dark, and Office just left the Netflix, so I'm going to hit pause on my $16 Netflix for a couple months until something new comes out. It's just like I can just see this happening more and more, so that we all kind of like. I feel like the right number is more like $100 a month for our TV and streaming needs.
That's about where you want to be, I'd say.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So
the other thing to consider in the grand scheme of things, this has not been a great year economically for most people.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
And when people are looking where to cut their budgets, I mean, shit like Disney Plus, where you've already crushed all the OG Disney movies, if you're me, that's going to be one of the first things to go. So that will be interesting to see how that impacts some of these companies and their decisions to continue to up their prices. Has anybody ever lowered their damn streaming prices?
No,
it
definitely
only goes
not.
up.
Yeah.
It only goes up, it seems.
Yeah.
Just like stocks, and it's just a pain in the ass, man. It's like we all saw this coming. All right, the second that things started to become a little more like Netflix was tight, but then it was like, ooh, what about Hulu? Ooh, now there's Disney Plus. Ooh, now there's Apple TV. Or like the second that we started to really get like there's like 7, 8, 9 options you feel obligated to have. It was like, oh damn it, we're back in the same boat as we were.
Yeah, I feel like the most genius one going right now is Prime. No matter what, that is the one that I will always have because I'm always going to have Prime.
Amazon's move to, I guess, package together when you join Amazon Prime, the original version, if you joined like back in the day when I did, it was so that you could get that free shipping options on all these different things. I use Amazon 500 times a year, and I save a shitload of money by not having to pay for the shipping, getting that next day shipping on a ton of different products. I like, especially during this pandemic when I'm not trying to hit the grocery store, dude. Like if I'm out of dish soap, I Amazon Prime that shit and it's at my front door the next day. Like on the cheap. So yes, on top of that, the fact that they offer a massive streaming platform with a shitload of movies and TV shows, they're in by far the best position.
Yeah.
By far out of all of those.
They also, Amazon just landed the Mad Men streaming rights. So that's another addition to their library if you have Prime. But we know that Amazon is soon to just control the world, right? Like essentially.
Yeah, one of the few companies that this year has been the best thing ever for them.
That's a place that will never run out of money, that can just continue to throw this shit at the wall and just, capture everybody, basically.
Bezos.
And that leads me into my next tidbit, because Amazon Studios also has acquired the rights to Fallout, which is being helmed by Leesa Joy and Jonah Nolan. So we've got that to look forward to.
Do we? Do we have that to look forward to?
Have you ever played Fallout?
Yeah. Tell me
what's going on here.
Let me speak to this video game experience momentarily.
Okay.
What you're looking at is like a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
But every single one of these games, they're massive, massive games. Like, I don't want to take a stab in the dark at how many hours each one of these would take you to finish. Let's just say 80 hours. Gamers, don't come at my head. I always get a few missions in, probably like 3 hours into each Fallout game, before being like, and I've seen all I need to see, and bouncing. Because you spend so much time like walking from place to place, talking to different people. It's not like a fucking straight up action game. It's a lot of like, it's more chill. It's a game that's probably more friendly for non-gamers. Like somebody that doesn't really fuck with video games could sit down and play Fallout, really enjoy themselves, until you get to the point where you're having to fight people and then you just die over and over like I did, and eventually you quit. But I do see the appeal of turning this into a television series. The problem is that we got Christopher Nolan and
Leesa Joy?
And Leesa Joy, and I don't trust them anymore.
Yeah. I
thought they were on contract with HBO.
Yeah, these people can be on contract all over the place, I guess, as it turns out. I'm not really sure. They signed this Amazon deal before I think it was announced that Fallout was the title. Okay. And we were wondering, because we speculated that might mean the end of Westworld. Like maybe they were cutting the cord on Westworld because Leesa and Jonah had gone and had made this deal with Amazon. And then it was announced that
they have 2 more years on their contract.
Yeah, we're getting
with HBO or something.
Aren't we getting 5 seasons of Westworld minimum?
I believe that's
Didn't they announce like 4 and 5 or just 4?
I believe they only announced 4, but they still have an additional year on their contract beyond that. So it's just kind of assumed. Yeah. It's almost like the speculation we made was like, okay, so is that just in case they want to cancel Westworld and then force them to do some other project like for the next year? Yeah. I don't really know. Again, the contract stuff with these showrunners is very confusing at the moment. Like how you could have a contract with HBO and a direct competitor to me seems completely insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's an ambitious project, I will say that. To do Fallout.
I mean, you got to think about it. Like actors can have, they can get signed and do a picture with Universal, and then they can go do something on Netflix, and then it's like it's the same type of thing. Like as long as
I guess so. As long as you do the job they've hired you to do, they don't really mind if you go do another job too.
Yeah. Now tell me what's going on here. The world. I've read this in two different like press releases now, and I don't totally understand it. The world of Fallout is one where the future envisioned by Americans in the late 1940s explodes upon itself through a nuclear war in 2077. What? Where'd the 40s come from if this is 2077?
I'm not sure. But the piece of it that I remember from playing the game...
We were worried about catastrophic nuclear war in the 1940s? Is that what it's saying? And
I think a catastrophic nuclear war happens in the 1940s, and now you're in 2077 roaming that Earth still. So everything above ground, you come out of like a capsule, bro. The first Fallout game, and maybe all of them, I'm not sure. You start below ground in what is essentially a human refuge for people who have survived this apocalyptic 1940s explosion. So the world above ground that you go out and enter and then eventually play the game in is all like a time capsule. Everything feels like the 1940s, the refrigerators, the fucking cars, the houses you see. So that's a really, really cool element of the game and an awesome thing that they'll get to play with on the TV show. Like, honestly, I'd be more excited for a Fallout TV show than a Fallout video game based on the premise.
Based on the premise.
But the problem is, again, I just don't trust these two fuckers.
Sure.
So, maybe they redeem themselves, who knows. But that is a very, very big title that a lot of people are very excited about.
Yes. And I mean, eventually, one of these video game adaptations is going to hit, right? Eventually, one of them is going to be good.
I hope.
You got to think so. Okay, moving on. Speaking
The Witcher was okay, just before the Hive comes out.
The Witcher?
It was okay.
Oh, yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. But two things. The Witcher wasn't, like, phenomenally, like, groundbreaking and just dominant.
Nah.
It was good.
Yeah.
And it almost gets like a half check mark in that box because it's also based on books, which is kind of cheating.
Fair enough.
They didn't take a video game
and then directly make it into
also book lore and book canon, which helps with the storytelling
for sure
to a large degree.
Okay.
Okay. We know that the Clam fam out there is big on Avatar: The Last Airbender, famed comic series on Nickelodeon, brought to you by M. Night Shyamalan and James Cameron.
Of course.
I just had to. This is the true definition of a tidbit. In the Season 3 finale of Big Mouth, all the kids turn into superheroes. And the super foul one, the one that's voiced by Jason Mantzoukas.
Yes,
I
can't remember his.
Yeah, he's like kind of bisexual. I can't remember his name right now. Oh, it's Bilzerian. His last name is Bilzerian. Is it Jay? I think it's Jay.
Jay Bilzerian.
Jay Bilzerian.
Yes.
He turns into the last cumbender.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it's a fun spoof of our child-friendly cartoon there.
The Last
Cumbender.
Yes, so I can imagine based on, I think I'm 5 episodes into Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I've spent enough time with the Avatar at this point to know exactly what The Last Cumbender would entail, and now I have to go watch this episode immediately when I get home. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay, I finally got Season 8 of The Office working on my Netflix.
What do you mean working?
It just would not work. Season 8 would not play. Every single episode, except for anything in Season 8, just would not play.
Weird glitch for me. Yesterday, Last Airbender was trying to hit another episode. It kept skipping. Only with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Any other show I watched, all good. That one, it kept skipping.
So you hope that like a reset of your Apple TV or something like that will kind of fix it.
Hit it with a hammer.
None of that was working. I had to delete the Netflix app and re-download it onto the Apple TV
Did that
to get
fix
this all
it?
to work. That did fix it. Yes. And this is more of a take than a tidbit. The people say they don't like Season 8 because of Robert California. That's not the problem with Season 8. Robert California is actually a really good additional character to the show.
I like Robert California.
He brings something new that we haven't seen before. The problem is that Andy Bernard is the manager, and they spend way too much time on him because he sucks.
Yeah.
That is the problem with Season 8.
Yeah.
Just a hot take there. Peacock on NBC, debuting today, I believe. And I think it is free. You probably have to watch some ads, but I think it's free. So we'll have to give that a look and report back on
Peacock.
it.
I still like
week.
that name. Good for them. But I just want to say James Spader in anything.
Oh, he's so good.
Is amazing.
Yeah. Did you watch this Will Smith and Jada Pinkett sit down, Ross?
I did, sir. Unfortunately, I did.
Our man Will Smith. What to say? This is a bad look for him.
Well, and her. It didn't look good for her either.
Nah, because she comes off as so clearly dominant.
True.
Like, she is the alpha in that room.
Oh, by far. It's like she dragged him to that table and was like, sit down, bitch.
And
we're doing this now.
Yeah, and like, won't even call it a transgression. And he's just
it's an entanglement, Barrett.
He just seems browbeaten. And I don't know what's going on there,
man. It's just an entanglement, that's all.
It's very unfortunate. And I was trying to find a silver lining here. And I thought about Tom Cruise jumping on the couch with Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
And how that was like a kind of like, oh my God, what's wrong with this dude moment.
Uh-huh.
And then after it, he like had a career renaissance, started doing all the badass Mission Impossible movies.
Sure.
And kind of like is now a Hollywood I mean, not that he ever wasn't, but he has like a great respected
Brand.
Hollywood career and brand right now.
For
the
whatever
crazy
reason,
couch jump.
For whatever reason with Tom Cruise, he sort of ascended that, like, everybody found out he was a freak show.
Yeah.
Everybody found out that him and the whole marriage thing with, what was her name?
Katie Holmes.
Thank you, Katie Holmes, was maybe bullshit, set up by the Church of Scientology. Everybody found out, everybody watched fucking Going Clear on HBO and was like, oh my God, Tom Cruise is a total and utter nut job. But for whatever reason, we were like, fuck it. The movies are tight. And the guy's incredible, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And does all his own stunts, just an unbelievable actor. But this didn't feel like that to me. This is...
Well, so what I was going to say is, so I looked into the couch jump. That was 2005, 15 years ago, which is crazy to think about how long ago that was. Tom Cruise, I was hoping that Tom Cruise was closer and Will Smith were close to the same age when these two things happened, but Tom Cruise was actually a lot younger. He was 43 when that happened. Will Smith is 51 now. So he's actually, I mean, he's closer to Tom Cruise's age now, who's 58, by the way.
Damn.
Here's the thing. Will, if you're listening, if you're part of the Clam fam, which, I mean, you probably are.
Most likely.
You should probably get out of this marriage first. First thing.
Marriage.
And then also, you have got to take a chance on a role, my dude. This dude, like, I'm still mad he didn't take the Django role.
That is the wild. What a misstep.
I mean, Jamie Foxx was awesome in it, so like it all worked out. But it's like that's the type. Do something experimental, man. Go out on a limb. Like, and I don't mean doing the Concussion movie, which has largely been like debunked already anyway.
Dude,
that guy was like a sham, basically.
But here's the problem with
like,
what you're asking.
Do something good, man.
He's not making these decisions, Barrett. We know how these people, the Church of Scientology shit, controls everything. If you're wondering, why wouldn't Will Smith just leave this marriage? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Jada Pinkett Smith knows a lot of shit about Will Smith.
Yeah.
As does the Church of Scientology. And if they want that couple to stay together for the sake of whatever image they're trying to promote in their insane organization / cult, which, by the way, still has tax benefits, I believe, they will stay together.
Yeah.
That man doesn't look like he wants to be at that table. And what did you do, Jada? How many times do you say that? And what did you do, Jada? And then she just looks like she wants to cut his head off the entire interview. I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching on youtube.com/BolenMedia. Dude, no, one of the more awkward things I've ever seen. He comes off as a total and utter cuck, and it's just like, it's depressing. And the weirdest part about it
is depressing.
Is that Jaden Smith, their son, literally introduced August Alsina, the kid that the 27-year-old, 20 years Jada's junior, that she had this entanglement with. That's who introduced them, Jaden. It'd be like if you brought a friend over and were like, "Here's my mom, wanna bang her?" And then your dad sat down and was like, "I give you my blessing," because that dude claimed that Will Smith gave him permission to carry on this relationship, like the whole friends, they were on a break thing.
Right.
All in all, just seemingly the most unhealthy, toxic fucking relation. It's Scientology's the thing that fucks these people up, though. I'm telling you. They can't get out once they're in.
I wish the best for Will Smith.
Because this is what I said on RBP. I was like, this is a guy that's an icon on another level in America. Like, we grew up with him. If you haven't seen the infamous "Why don't he want me, man?" clip from Fresh Prince where he's talking to Uncle Phil, which, by the way, all my apologies for calling Uncle Phil his stepdad on RBP. Just wildly inaccurate. And there's like a J. Cole line that's just so easy to remember, Uncle Phil. Anyway, because he says, "Rest in peace, Uncle Phil," for real. Somebody remixed that clip to where it's all about Jada. Why don't she want me, man? And it's one of the funniest and also simultaneously saddest things I've ever seen. Like, I was laughing and also just like, this poor man. And he got memed. It's like a crying Jordan, Will Smith thing that they've got going now where, like, it just couldn't have gone worse.
Yeah. No,
Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So
enough of their depressing nonsense.
Yes. But just had to talk about it, you know?
Oh, it's very entertaining. I'll give them that. They keep it interesting, the Smith family.
So, last thing before we move into dark, and it's going to transition nicely. It'll be a nice segue. If you're into time loops, there's a fun little movie.
If you're into time loops.
Fun little movie on Hulu brought to you by Lonely Island and Andy Samberg, called Palm Springs.
Okay.
And it is a comedy movie, the likes of which I've not seen in many moons. It is a flat 90 minutes. It is full of a nice, cute little love story. Much like the show, it's packed with laughs.
Good.
And it's well worth a watch, especially if you're just all up on that time loop shit.
And it's funny?
After dark. Oh, very funny. Very funny.
Oh shit, that's like the opposite of dark.
And it also just got me thinking about how, man, if you want me, we're doing the streaming thing now. Mm-hmm. All the studios, all these guys, Hulu, Netflix, they're all making movies. They're all pushing out these movies. A lot of them very much B+ movies. That's what I'd give Palm Springs. It's a solid B+.
Okay.
Look, man, if you want me to watch your movie, you gotta make it 90 minutes. I am in. I'll pretty much watch any movie that's 90 minutes.
That's a ridiculous statement.
I know that's sad.
Any movie if it's 90 minutes.
Pretty much. I know that's sad, but like it's such a if I see that 2-hour 20-minute time pull up there, that's why I haven't got to Uncut Gems yet, man. Every time I pull that up on Netflix, I'm like, 227, like I don't really have that like
that one's a commitment, especially because it's so taxing.
Even on a weekend, that's like the whole afternoon. I see 90 minutes, I'm like, that's just like three short TV shows.
I mean, that's fair.
Easy peasy, baby.
I'll give you one I watched recently that I was like, Christ, why did y'all feel the need to make this over 2 hours? I watched Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga with Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams.
Why is that over 2 hours? That has no business being over 2 hours.
I literally, I cannot fathom how they don't make it, because this seems like such an obvious choice, and if you're going over that 2 hour mark, that is certainly a detriment to a lot of people who are deciding whether or not to watch your film. And in the case that it's a really family-friendly comedy like this one, where I don't know that there's a single, actually, yeah, he yells fuck a couple times, I think. But for the most part, it's a PG-13 film, Barrett. You could like watch this with your kids and shit. It's really like sweet and funny. And it's not bad, man. Like if you need something to watch on a weekend where you're sick or feeling down or you're just like, fuck, I need something, throw this shit on. There's some bomb-ass music in it, I'll give you that. But all in all, it's just a silly-ass film.
Yeah.
But it was over 2 freaking hours. I had two more things, actually. When is the Amazon Lord of the Rings crap happening?
Who knows?
It says 2021 now is
Probably
the first episode date, maybe. The budget is $250 million, $100 million to $150 million per season, and they're doing it in New Zealand. Who knows when that'll fucking happen? Other thing, I have once again lost access to HBO Max. Don't know why. They gave it to me for, 2 days? It's gone.
Man.
And it's gone.
They just slap and tickled you, man. They
did.
gave you a little tease, a little slap and tickle.
Sons of bitches.
I just kind of pulled up Palm Springs just to remember the name of the actress that co-stars with Andy Samberg, Kristen Milioti. You'll recognize her if you were a How I Met Your Mother fan. They're both fantastic in it. Anyway, this movie is also breaking all sorts of streaming records, at least for Hulu. Hulu and Neon paid $17.5 million for the rights to it after it was a hit at Sundance. Was it Sundance?
They got to do a better job of marketing this. I haven't even heard of it.
So I'm pretty sure that I caught wind of it via social media, Instagram and Twitter, I think.
Okay.
So, and it's also breaking social media records as far as like mentions and content and content for Hulu.
It's called I Used to Go Here?
It's been a wild success. It has 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's well worth your time, and I'm so happy that it was 90 minutes because it's just like I just miss movies that are that long and bring you a laugh and a cry at the same time.
Wait, what is the title of the film?
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Okay, I googled Andy Samberg new movie, and I Used to Go Here popped up, which I don't know what the shit that is. Palm Springs, Andy. I just want to see like the cover art or whatever, Oh, dude, yeah, I saw. Okay. I've seen some of this on social.
Yeah, you're not gonna realize that it's a time loop a movie until you actually
start watching. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
But it's also very if you watched Russian Doll last year, it's got a similar feel to it.
Didn't watch Russian Doll, but good for those who did.
Yep, very good show. It was on my top 10 last year.
Any other tidbits and such?
That'll do it.
Righteous. Love that. Today's episode of OCC is brought to you by Leesa, makers of the greatest mattresses in the fucking world. I always argue that your mattress is right up there with your living room television in terms of important purchases you make for your home. Whether you live in an apartment or a big house with 5 bedrooms or whatever, you've got to have a good place to sleep. Get good rest. Is your mattress shitty? Do you even remember where it came from? How long you've had it? Do you wake up every morning feeling like you've won the lottery because your mattress is so damn comfortable? I do, on my Leesa Legend. I also slept on the Leesa, the Hybrid by Leesa, which is their slightly more affordable option. If you're looking for that as well, it was, as I said 100,000 times, the most comfortable bed I've ever laid eyes or body on.
Leesa.
Hybrid is phenomenal. The Leesa Legend is phenomenal. Their pillows are phenomenal. Their blankets are phenomenal. Everything Leesa makes is great. They know how important rest is to a better life. They're the foundation of a healthier, happier you. And to Leesa, a bed is more than just a place to sleep. It's a place for relaxation and rest. All their products have been thoughtfully designed to go beyond creating a comfortable bed to transform your bedroom into a sanctuary you actually want to spend time in. Their most advanced luxury hybrid mattress is made with premium foams and springs for enhanced pressure relief with edge-to-edge support. Thoughtfully designed to be the best of both worlds. Hop on there at Leesa.com/dragon. Check out everything they've got. When you use the promo code DRAGON, if you order today, you'll get 15% off any mattress for a limited time. Leesa.com/dragon. The promo code is DRAGON. LEESA.com/dragon. Go to Leesa. In-home delivery and setup is available. Leesa mattresses are made in the USA. Financing is also available. And they donate 1 mattress for every 10 they sell through organizations that work in causes like foster care prevention, to date having donated more than 33,000 mattresses through more than 1,000 nonprofits because they believe all people should have access to deep rest and relaxation. Once more, Leesa.com/dragon. LEESA.com/dragon. 15% off any mattress for a limited time at Leesa.com/dragon. It is time to close out Dark.
Let's close it out, Ross.
I finished the series finale probably 45 minutes before you came and picked me up to come to the studio today.
Okay.
Let's just start here. How happy were you with the ending? Where do you sit right now with Dark as a series?
So, for me,
first of all, spoilers coming all over the place.
Spoilers coming all over
if
the
you've
place.
never
Yes,
watched
indeed,
Dark,
indeed.
get the fuck out. Skip to Perry Mason.
So I'm gonna give you 2 answers here. One, I was pretty satisfied with the finale. I thought it was a nice little cap on the series as a whole. Now, to give you just a little bit more than that, my enthusiasm for the show and the season dipped with episodes 6 and 7 of this season.
Right there with you.
Like they basically didn't tell me anything new. They spent 2 hours reiterating the same shit
over and 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 over.
Completing the loop, right, is basically what they did.
Showed us a bunch of scenes that mirrored other scenes from season 1 and shit.
At the end of 7, we've basically seen like everybody's full track.
And all these different possibilities and all these different people making all these different efforts in all these different places, none of which, in the end, are worth the flying fuck.
Well, and what I was like, the reason that didn't work totally for me is because we kind of knew that that's where it was headed. So it wasn't like a big revelation to see them finish their loops. And on top of that, each episode of Dark kind of like attempts to punch you in the face with some deep, profound voiceover, right? It's like, the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. And in life, you have destiny, and you have choice, and which is real, and which is not, and what is space.
And then it does that noise.
And then it...
and takes you to like another time zone, and you're like, what the shit is it?
And then it's like that really creepy intro, which I've always really, really liked and appreciated. But so
lend me your hand.
By episode 6 and 7, I'm like, okay, you're not breaking any ground here with your deep, profound voiceover to begin the episode. I get it. Like, everything is a circle, time is a flat circle. Nobody can get out of their own loops because every decision that they make is the one that always puts them there. Like, I gotcha. So to have the series finale kind of break from that, and despite its like liberal use of a plot MacGuffin, where it's just like, oh, we can break the circle now. Don't know how, but Claudia figured it out. Boom, let's go. It's like, it's fine. That was the only way. You had two choices here for the ending. They could use a MacGuffin like that and fix everything and solve it.
A MacGuffin. I like this word. I don't know what it means.
It just means that they like pulled something out of thin air and just like jammed it in the
plot
to finish.
device that's sort of forced. Okay.
Yeah, it's like there was a MacGuffin is like, well, we have to have this, otherwise there is no story. Kind of comes out of nowhere a lot of the times.
It says an object or device in a movie or book that serves merely as a trigger for the plot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Claudia comes back. She's like, I got it. I figured it out. Here's how you break the loop. You got to go to the third world.
I spent 33 years. Dude, the line where he's like, where he goes, there's a third world. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Of course there is.
So I was fine with that because it's either they went this route and like kind of came to a satisfying ending because of it, or they just continued with the like, this is a loop. It's all destiny. Nobody can get out of it. And we don't really have any further explanation for you.
Sure.
Like those were kind of our two choices.
Yes.
And so I was happy that they went with this one. We got some cool moments at the end. We kind of, we came to the conclusion of the Marta Jonas love story. And then I just thought it was like nicely done and executed with everybody kind of like fading away. Okay. That kind of like ash to ash, dust to dust. We just kind of like go back to the stars. We're all made of the same matter. That kind of thing. Like I vibe with that.
That played for me too. I couldn't be more in agreement with you as far as 7 and 8 go. I found myself being like, I know about 100 times through the course of those two, to the point where, frankly, Barrett, you could have not watched those episodes.
You could pretty much skip straight from 5 to 8,
and it
or even
wouldn't
from
have been
4 to 8.
It really wouldn't have been that damning.
Yeah.
I found that to be a little bit disappointing that they sort of lost momentum towards the finish line, but I was happy with the way they recovered in the simplicity of the finale. It's just that with how complex the show was, it and I guess that was sort of the point, right? What happened here? What was the actual origin was this clockmaker who lost his family and that desperately wanted to fix that mistake, that loss.
Yes.
Regain the life he had before this tragic accident, which brings me straight to Devs in my head, by the way.
Yeah.
There were also
there were
moments
a lot
of Interstellar.
I'm glad you mentioned, yes, both. We got big Devs and big Interstellar.
In the finale, for sure.
And big... there's the final when they're in the stars, when they're in the light, also gave me some vibes of the OA. If you've watched,
a little bit, yeah.
But there was even some of that like, there was even some musical cues that were Devs like, that were like the breathy like.
Except Devs did it the whole series, and
like that
and just
weird
never
type
let you
of,
let
there were
go.
There were some of those weird little musical cues that I guess we've just all decided allude to time travel in a weird, freaky way.
And they just give you anxiety.
So, yep.
Yeah, so we had some Devs vibes for sure with this. Because it all came down to the clockmaker trying to save his family. And, that did feel a little strange based on following like 36 characters who are really about 7 characters and all the different ages and versions of themselves. It was strange for, in the end, it all to just need that one old lady to come back and be like, yo, bro. But, so that was one of the biggest moments in the show, right? When Adam kills Marta and what he believes to be the origin, which is Jonas from the other world and Marta from the different world, Jonas and Marta's baby.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing happens. And he's like, fuck. And then that old lady just walks up and is like, oh, bro, I got you. I've been looking for this for about 33 years. But and the way she explains it, she's like, I had to let every single one of these other things happen so that I could get to this moment where I tell you this so that we can make this one change so that this can all be undone.
Yes.
And you're like, well, that's great, but this season could have been 6 episodes probably.
Yeah, which would have been weird. It would have been kind of weird to go from 10 to 8 to 6,
I don't know, man. Game of Thrones did that shit. Fuck it. Like, at this point, they got to stop forcing
the number of episodes.
Especially when there's no advertising involved. You're not making more based on people watching more episodes. It's like, dude, just shorten your workload, really.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and Dark was a very complicated show. So I appreciate that they put the time and effort in that they did, and they made it as confusing as they did, and it was as clever and smart and intelligent as it was. It's just that in the end, you almost felt a little bit like, oh, for real?
Yeah. I mean,
they just had to stop this car accident?
Plot-wise, do you have any sense of why, like my big kind of like, well, this piece of it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Why was Claudia able to figure it out this go round?
I don't know. I don't know.
There was no real explanation for that, right?
Because we didn't really get to see old lady The problem was 7 and 8, and then in particular, how many times they started using the scrolling years where the big, 1890, and then it would be like 2040.
Yep.
Back
they did
to
that in one episode. They did that in one episode, 7.
Fuck that episode, because I had no idea what was going on the whole time. Like, I would absorb, like, okay, wait, 1890 is fucking trying to build the thing, but what even was the point of 1890? Why were we ever in 1890? Jonas ends up in 1890 just sitting on the bed watching his fucking self start to disappear. I'll say this, it was tight as hell we see the first hit from the machine he's trying to build where it takes that, it hits him in the shoulder, and you get that feeling. It's like the Darth Vader moment where you see how he's going to become the disfigured version that we know as Adam, and then we eventually meet even younger Adam, but where he's disfigured but he's younger, and then he murders his own mother with a pillow, which has absolutely no impact on anything, by the way. But I just don't. That's what I mean. There were so many things that you're like, holy shit, that was huge. But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and that's what that episode is all about, like showing us the full loop, essentially. It was filling in the gaps that we hadn't seen yet.
That's why they kept using the word gaps as well. Like, yeah, no, I get it, and I'm sure for people who are more intelligent than me, there were a lot of beautiful moments mixed in there and poetic moments.
I really don't know. I don't know if there were, if that did happen for people.
Or then it was just a roller coaster ride.
I mean, it was just kind of like it was kind of like, here are all the missing pieces. Here's where he kills his mom, and like here's where Bartosz actually becomes the father of
that fuck that we thought was the bad guy originally.
Noah and Noah's sister, who is the mom of Ulrich. So it's like it was just like kind of like fully putting all of those years together so that we could see the full picture. And then in the meantime, we keep seeing everybody in their like various selves being sent back to keep things the exact same.
That was cool when we got the room with all those characters lined up, and he's explaining she's explaining, you need to do this, you need to do this. Yep. Ava ends up being sort of this huge player in all of it.
And Adam too. They both have their teams that get sent to do
things fixed,
the various things to keep the loop.
But so in the end, did all of those efforts? So that's the thing that's kind of beautiful about it. All of those efforts had to take place still for what ends up being, it's Tiedemann's old ass who shows up and tells Adam, here's what you have to do, right? Claudia? That's the old woman who shows up and says, like, here's why this didn't work and here's what you have to do.
Yep.
So all of those efforts, it's not like they were wasted almost. It's like they fed towards this moment, which in hindsight is cool. It just was really hard to unravel in the scope of things when you're watching the final episode and she tells you, hey, actually, none of what you thought was the origin is the origin. It was just this clockmaker who you've seen like 6 or 7 times throughout the course of the 3 seasons, mostly trying to build the OG time machine or whatever in season 1. That's when we spent the most time with him, right?
And who's the adopted dad of Charlotte.
Right. Yes. So there was like cool tie-ins with that, but it was like just a lot to get to that point. It was a lot. And credit to this show for being one of the more confusingly and intelligent written things I've ever watched, and really just riveting the whole way through. I never found myself being bored. I did get frustrated for the first time in the series during episodes 6 and 7 of this season. Now, in the finale in 8, I found myself being a little more pleased. But
yeah, it's also, again, there are all sorts of questions that I really wasn't too concerned about by the time that I got to 8. But like in the regular loop, in all of the times when Claudia doesn't come to old Adam with this final answer, where does it all go? How does it all conclude and get started? Like Adam kills that version of Marta, it doesn't work, and then he eventually dies. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know
what I'm
saying?
know.
Like, how does it unfold in the usual loops?
Well, those other 2 worlds cease to exist, right?
Eventually, once Claudia figures it out,
right?
They're able to get Jonas and Marta to World 3.
So you mean in the meantime?
I mean, like, we have that moment where Adam comes in, points the gun, at Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, so I guess, okay, that is typically what happens. So I guess he kills Marta. It doesn't work. He goes, finds Ava, kills Ava, and that's the usual loop.
Okay. And then there's another loop where she kills
younger
him.
Marta comes in, finds her older self dead. That's what she even says, that's what fully turns her against Adam. Maybe she kills Adam, who knows, I don't know. But then the loop continues. Okay, so that I guess that was kind of answered.
Got you. Sort of. The other thing I found to be cool, they kept touching on dark, the word dark.
Mm-hmm.
They really tied all that in. She says repeatedly, I had to keep everyone in the dark in order for this to work, right? That final episode, the final scene at the table, they keep mentioning, she talks about the dream she had. Everything goes dark, right?
Yep.
All that different, that was all cool, and especially in comparison to the third world we get with the original clockmaker trying to solve this problem, who it starts the problem, starts a totally different and huge, much more complicated problem. There's all the color in that world. The trees are more colorful. You can see the blue and the hue of the dude's glasses, his hair. Everything had more color in World 3.
In World 3, yeah.
And I couldn't remember if we ever got a moment. So did we ever see World 3 until the finale?
Nope.
Or that was the first time we ever saw World 3?
World 3 was the MacGuffin, basically.
Okay, got you.
Final episode of the entire series.
Here's
There's
the
a
thing
third
you've never
world.
seen.
That's what started it all. That's where you need to go. So
our
it's
World
introduced
1
and concludes all in the same episode.
Our World 1 that we meet in Season 1, even that wasn't the real reality.
Not the real
that
reality.
was
Yes.
a break off of this
Yes.
OG World 3, as we'll call it.
And the whole thing, I thought the kind of like the messaging of it all, that this was a piece that worked for me. Like, because the world gets split into two, and all of this crazy shit, time travel passage opening starts happening, that allows things to happen that shouldn't have happened. And some of those things are Marta and Jonas. Like, they were not supposed to be in original world, which I thought gave added, so it's like we watch them kind of fade away there at the end, and they talk about like existence, did it ever mean anything? Were we ever here, or were we just basically like a dream? Like, all of that. I thought that was all really kind of poignant. And then
at
like,
the table at the end,
and
she's
then in
talking
our
about
final
she
moment,
had the dream.
she's pregnant, and she's going to give birth, and there's going to be she will have a son whose name is Jonas. And it's like, I just thought that was kind of cool. It's like, because it kind of put a bow on the whole destiny thing, right? Like, somebody is going to be born with Jonas, and then you get into all sorts of other kind of crazy questions, like about like, well, what's a soul, and how does that manifest?
So does he still get to experience a life? Is
will
that
he-
what we're saying?
Pretty much, because in a way, he will, even if it's not the exact same conscious.
Jonas.
He will, there will be a Jonas. It will be, from the blood of Hannah. So it.
Dude, when fucking Noah is in that room and they call Hanno down and you see it's younger Noah and that he is the son of Bartos was another moment where I was like, this fucking show, dude. Holy crap, man. Let's talk about the takeaways. Big picture message of Dark. For me, what it really ended up being about, and I think this is different for everyone who watches on different levels, right? There's a lot of takeaways, but like the biggest takeaway for me was about humanity and our decisions that we make and the regrets that we have to live with for the rest of our lives based on the decisions that we make and our inability to change the past. Every person living has moments in their past that they wish they could go back and do one thing differently. Maybe if I'd... And this is not a new concept, obviously. This is something that's been addressed again. I believe there's a Nicolas Cage movie that fucks with this concept. But, like, what would my life be like if this one thing had happened differently?
Talking about The Family Man?
Yeah. What if I had made... I've never seen it, just the trailer, and I get the gist of it that was the idea. I could be totally wrong. But, like, what if I did this one thing differently?
Right.
Like, what if in the case of the clockmaker, what if I had kept my family from bailing and driving in this rainstorm towards a bridge that's out? Like, all that type of shit. Like, with devs, it was, what if I hadn't made that phone call to my wife that had her distracted so that she got hit by this car and then everybody dies? And that is such a difficult part of being human because you have absolutely, that is not a thing. Time travel does not exist, to my knowledge.
Yep.
You cannot go back and change the past. To dwell on it is a mistake. Because you either make peace with it and you grow forward and move on, or it will eat you alive and destroy you. And in the case of this show, it really, really hit the nail on the head there. Like, the clockmaker's inability to make peace with what happened in his life and continue living, and to instead focus on trying to undo the past, caused an absolute fucking clusterfuck of 3 seasons of television to occur.
Yes.
Probably the most confusing thing I've ever watched. But I'll say that is a deeply rooted message in this series, that you get these different levels to that throughout with all the different characters, not just with the clockmaker.
Yep.
With Jonas, with Marta, with Ava, with Adam, with all these different fucking people. By the way, her meeting her son, the origin, and all 3 versions of him, and like the littlest one giving her a hug and shit, I was just like, I'm so creeped out, right? And wasn't it older Ava who was actually sending those 3 back in time to just murder a whole bunch of people too?
I think so, yeah.
This shit was just fucking, it was like, at some point, I will watch this again, just for clarity. Like, I hope I'm like 65 and retired on a beach, not doing it for like a rewatch on Patreon. But I will rewatch this series at some point because I feel like it was like a really, really good book where you can't do it once because there's so much. But in the end, it's like, there's so much that didn't matter, like in the grand scheme of things, but in the messaging and in the lessons to take away from the show, they did matter. So that's where there's like there's so much depth in Dark, and then the finale punches it home with this like simplicity almost, in contrast to the rest of the series, and that's why I liked the closeout.
Yeah,
that's why I thought they did a good job, and to choose to end on Jonas's mother's face, saying I think Jonas is a beautiful name.
Mm-hmm.
That shit got like one tear, just one little tear, like formed in my eye. I don't even think it fell. I was just like, man, that was poetic.
Yeah,
like it was just a really well executed, insane German television show.
Yeah, it really was. And I think you nailed like the kind of like the big takeaway, the message. And I would just add to that that there was clearly a lot in there about like fighting for your family, fighting for love. Like the two,
love and family,
basically the 2 things that you'll go to any lengths to protect, no matter the cost.
And friendship to a lower degree, sort of, but also it kind of got into the complicated nature of friendship and how it can shift and change. Yeah.
And you know, we literally had these people, Jonas and Ulrich especially, kind of like, and Claudia really going to all these lengths to try to save family members. Claudia for Regina. Jonas for Marta, Ulrich for his kids, like, you know, and his brother, the whole thing. Like, these are what lengths will you go to for family and for love was kind of also like a huge
lesson or message in this show.
Yeah.
And in the case of most of our characters, turns out quite far.
Yeah.
They will go quite far. All in all, Dark was always going to be a show where the ending was going to be very, very tricky.
Yeah.
And I thought this was about as well as they could have done with it in terms of the finale. But again, my only knock on season 3 and really the series as a whole, I don't think I ever had a real complaint other than that I'm confused and feel stupid in seasons 1 or 2. And in season 3, the only complaint I have is episodes 6 and 7 sort of lost steam and got me to a place where I was like, I fucking know none of what you're doing is working. Please, God. And the guy that I ended up feeling the worst for was Jonas in 1800s, because that fool legit was there forever, but like for a very long time, by himself. Everybody else turns on him. Bartos is off like creating a family that ends up creating anyway, the point being that dude like trying to build the technology to get the hell out of there because they're all stuck there, which I don't even remember how they got stuck there after season 2. It doesn't matter. That guy got the shit into the stick.
Yeah. Have you, here's a question. Have you gone now and looked since watching? I mean, you probably haven't. You finished 45 minutes ago, but you have not gone and like actually investigated the family tree, have you?
No.
To see it all laid out? I have not, but there's a...
I'm scared to do it.
One of our listeners like even sent me a link that's pretty cool. It's from Netflix, I believe. And you can choose what season and what episode you're through. and then it will present all the information to you.
What?
Only up to how far you've watched. So now you can go. You can say you're done with it, and I think it'll show you like the whole family tree, the whole kit and caboodle. So
No shit.
could be interesting.
Well, that's nice. Done with Dark?
I think we covered it.
We survived.
I only finished it, well, I guess it's been about 2 days for me, 36 hours or so.
So how do you? What's it?
But
sitting well?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, should we talk about do you want to talk about the light tunnel real quick?
Yeah, sure.
We talked about how it gives you interstellar OA vibes.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts on that piece of it?
I wasn't great.
You didn't like it?
I mean, here's the problem with those like sort of interdimensional type of scenes.
Yeah.
My human pea brain is not capable of grasping that. When you're talking about things that a physical second and third world, well, at least I have the idea, okay, these are physical places.
Yeah,
when you're looking at a light tunnel,
right.
It's just like, I'm like, okay, like, where is this? What is it? Are we in heaven? Is this supposed to be like? What am I looking at? And then, it was emotional. It was cool. It was visually stimulating. It just on a logical level. I mean, it didn't really hit for me, but it didn't necessarily need to. That was all about emotion and just being tight looking to me.
Yeah,
I guess.
Would you say that Jonah and Marta are a perfect match?
What's the other line? It's like
never believe anything different.
Never believe anything different. Man, I guess they certainly seem to hook up in every time frame, regardless of what version of them you were looking at, right?
Yeah.
And also murder each other in every time frame, regardless of what. And that's love. That's love. You want to kill the person and also save them at the same time.
That's what they say. That's what I have heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think we've covered all my thoughts at this point.
Well.
Yeah.
We hope y'all enjoyed Dark. Hit us with your thoughts on Instagram,
I can now
on
go
Twitter.
look at my Twitter mentions.
Yes, for all of you who have been tweeting at us, we'd love to hear y'all's reviews in the Instagram comments at Barrett Dudley on Twitter, at WR Bolen on Twitter, or you can just tweet at the OCC account. Hit us with your thoughts, man. I'm interested to see how many of you were very pleased versus how many of you were a little disappointed or somewhere in between. I'm going to guess the majority of people feel like you and I did, that it wasn't perfect, but it was quite good in the end.
Yeah,
Let's do Perry Mason.
Let's talk about PM.
It's season 1, episode 4. This is one of those shows where I keep saying the wrong episode over and over and over and over. I think I said episode 5 is what we're covering this week about 15 different times. I would summarize this episode by saying it's the one where we watch the old lawyer sort of lose his shit. It was like, and they sort of start to put the pieces together about the original lies in the first 3 episodes about how this murder unfolded, and we find that there is a 4th unidentified criminal responsible for the murder of this child, basically. Would you say that's the gist of it?
Yeah. We like you said, we saw last week. We kind of started seeing EB kind of like
derailing a bit,
start spiraling a little bit, and so here we get really, that going to new depths.
Turns out he's in great financial trouble.
Right.
He can't get a loan from the bank.
Yep. He keeps kind of getting bested by this younger DA.
Yes.
He just doesn't have it like he used to, basically.
And man,
he's a dinosaur.
The moments where he feels that and makes you feel it, oh my God, he's so good at those, the actor.
Then Perry and his boy keep kind of like pulling at the string.
Phil.
The whole thing will come undone.
Perry and Phil.
You mean the whole thing you mean the sweater will start to unravel?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're cooking. Meet me at the old graveyard if you want to know more.
What the fuck is that?
Zoolander.
Oh my God. What? The fact that you have that line in your head is you've watched Zoolander too many times.
I don't think I nailed it, but
now you're cooking.
It's David Duchovny telling the investigator to pull at the string and the whole thing will unravel.
Yeah. Speaking of David Duchovny, where the hell is that guy at?
Chilling.
Just doing music, I guess?
I don't know.
He was doing music for a while. Apparently he's quite good as a musician, too, but he's one of my favorite actors. I just wish he would do more shit, not to distract from Perry Mason.
Yeah. Yeah, another great episode. We're getting somewhere with the church. I didn't feel like this episode slowed down for me. I still very much felt like it was continued to keep the plot moving. We're getting a little bit more.
I was medicated watching this one.
A little bit more of the dynamics of the church. We got the elders stepping in. I thought it was such a pointed moment that I thought was brilliantly executed when Mother, I can't remember, the
Mother's
Sister Alice's mother, is in the room, and they have that shot kind of from her POV, and it is just like 12 old white dudes
that are going to tell her
confronting her in a wall, being like, "This is what's happening."
Yes,
and I just it's you've rewind to that era, and it's like not a ton has changed at this point, but there's a little bit of diversity in some of these rooms now. It's not great yet, but it's better.
We hope, yeah.
But just you think back to this time period, and that's how it would have been, man. It was nothing but them in all of the rooms where control
and power and
as
decisions.
Hamilton would say, I want to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah,
you know?
No, great. Wow, well, look at you. What a fucking pro. No, dude, it was that, and then here that one dude yelling blasphemer.
Oh yeah.
After she goes full turn and fucking decides, no, I am gonna resurrect this child.
I'm gonna resurrect this boy.
Which, by the way, I'm really looking forward to Alice trying to pull that one off, because
So,
as far as I know, hasn't been done since Lazarus.
Plot-wise, here's what I'll say: we're only 4 through. Right now, it's looking too easy that man number 4
is our
crooked cop. Right? That's seeming too.
Well, because why all the focus on the church then? If man number 4 is as far as it goes and as simple as it gets, why all the focus on the church? Why all the focus on the crookedness of the church and all these very evil-looking white dudes who run the church? These, why all the focus on all that shit?
The other, this episode was also kind of seeming to say that man 4 is the one that casually popped in the room and made off with the money.
Right.
And so but we see in the very first episode that crooked cop busts into the room. And they have the money in the suitcase right there. The other 3 guys have the money.
Oh, yeah. And then we found money burned.
And then he kills them and takes it, I think.
But there was money burned in a fireplace
and then,
where they found guy whose teeth came out.
Right, because crooked cop absconded with the money. And we do think that he is the one that, that did the fake suicide and burned the money.
Okay.
But there's something more going on.
Gotcha. Okay, so the burn money was part of the fake suicide.
Yes.
To make you think this guy couldn't take it. He burned the blood money. He didn't even want it. Now the money's gone, but in reality, this cop has the money.
Maybe he burned some of it. Maybe he kept some of it. We don't know.
He bought some Monopoly money and threw it in the fireplace to make it look like, yeah.
But yeah, something is definitely... There's obviously going to be more than just this one cop being the missing piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Also, just big shouts. We've talked a lot about the acting on this show, especially with Matthew Rhys and John Lithgow. But Stephen Root, man, just all-time character actor. One of the best of all time. We're talking about a dude who is Bill in King of the Hill, Milton in Office Space. I can't remember his name on News Radio, but he's in News Radio, and then just a million movies where he pops up and crushes these little character roles.
Dude, he's in 75 different HBO shows. He was a major character. He played an incredibly gay vampire on True Blood. He is absolutely I would put him on the Lithgow level in terms of talent in these character acting roles that he attacks for TV. That dude definitely.
Oh, he's Fuchs in Barry.
He's Fuchs and Barry, bro. This guy is in so much shit, and he's so good. And for whatever reason, he's one of the dudes who can play. He can be in all these different things, and you don't get distracted by the fact that he's him. He's able to transform and not take away from the character.
And that's what I mean.
Even though you've seen him in 40 things.
He can just melt into characters, and it's really, he's awesome. It's incredible.
But yeah, Matthew Rhys ended up being absolutely perfect for this. John Lithgow is obviously unbelievable as EB. But everybody on this show...
Yeah, and we got more from Della this episode, who's also that's Juliet Rylance, also excellent stuff.
Dude, Stephen Root is a freak. Dodgeball, he's in. Good God, yeah. Go through this dude's IMDb. You'll just be like, wait, what? Dear Lord. He was in Masters of Sex.
So yeah, this is it's still humming, man. I'm liking this show a whole lot.
Kung Fu Panda, Legends of Awesomeness.
They also, I've also really appreciated I like how they went with the kind of, it's like sort of the era, but it's kind of jazzy. All the musical cues like are really just playing
LA
into
noir,
like the noir stuff. It's working really well. Kind of giving me like a little Homeland vibe. Homeland also like to use jazz.
Yeah.
But this one obviously plays in a different way, and it's been good.
Selma. He was in Selma. I'm just gonna keep yelling out Stephen Root stuff. Boardwalk Empire. For real.
Yeah,
the Newsroom. Dude, it's absolutely bonkers. Go through his IMDb and it'll melt your brain. Yeah, so I almost crapped my pants when that snake popped out of that box. That snake was fucking huge.
Right before she opened the box, I like leaned over to Laura and I go, "It's gonna be a baby's head," kind of joking.
I love that was your guess.
And then I was kind of right. Like it was something horrifying in a way. But I had this sense that like that was
gonna be a baby's head.
I had this sense that was gonna be something dark.
I can see Laura's face in my head now. Laura's just like, yeah, that scared the crap out of me. I really am looking forward to seeing. I just don't know the end game. Like, I get where we're going with the investigation with Perry Mason, with Phil, with EB. Like, those all make sense in sort of a trajectory way, right? I do not have a clue with Alice and the church, which is what's become my most interested in area of this show, because I'm like, yo, what is going to happen here? Especially now that this woman is legitimately claiming to be able to have the power to resurrect a child, and she's going to do it on Easter Sunday. We also have this date now that we know is going to be insane, Easter Sunday. I don't know if that's going to be the finale of the show or of the season or what. How many more episodes do we have? Is this a 10 episode?
I don't know. I don't know if this is 8 or 10.
Perry Mason. How many episodes?
You can kind of see though. This is so. We're still hitting all these True Detective notes. Like the fact that we have like the kids at the Elks Club who are disadvantaged or disabled that are going off to this summer camp, and then we saw the picture with like the orphanage and like the adoption program with the church, and we know that that there's some crossover here, and like the baby with the stitched eyes. Like this is all. It's all kind of circling around and like headed towards this spot where some cabal of people has an interest, a malevolent interest that has to do with children, right?
Yeah.
Like that. And that piece of it is so True Detective-y.
And also very relevant to the nonstop Pizzagate Wayfair conspiracy theorists of our day and time in 2020.
Yeah.
Which is just a lovely tie-in. Just lovely. We get 8 episodes of this show. And
8. Okay, so we're halfway through.
Yeah, so the first 3 were directed by Tim Van Patten, okay, who is he one of the showrunners?
TVP.
Created by Rollin Jones and Ron Fitzgerald. So no, he's just the director. He's not one of the showrunners. And Van Patten, okay, he did the first 3 episodes, then we went to Denise Erguvin. She did 3, and then he's going to close out the final 2 as the director as well, so that'll be cool. It's always funny how they sort of stack these director roles in a different way for the sake of momentum and shit.
Yep.
But yeah. So we're looking at 8 episodes. We're 4 deep. That's halfway home. And it's been great so far, man. Like I said, this one... This is probably an episode I need to go watch again, just because, like I said, I had like a weird mental health week last week, so I was like partially medicated on Sunday, and I found myself just kind of being like, well, that was chill. But it wasn't chill in hindsight.
No,
like
not,
a lot happened.
Chill, yeah.
A lot happened. Perry Mason has been great. If you love, well, I guess if you're still listening, you're probably watching it. Suggest it to people. Or if you know anybody else who's watching Perry Mason, we're obviously going to continue to cover this show for the remainder of the season. Tell them about OCC, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Bring them into the Clam Fam. And we'll discuss. We'll continue to discuss.
Quick question for you before we bounce on out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you expect that was the last that we've seen of EB?
I hope not.
Like, he was certainly going through with it, but the fact that we didn't... I kind of feel like somebody's going to bust in and save his ass.
If that does not happen, I would be shocked.
I'd just be surprised to lose him halfway through.
Especially with, like, there has to be some kind of, like, a redemption for him, because everything's been a failure so far. Everything, like, it can't just be that he's crushed and now he's...
The thing here is, obviously we know that Perry Mason, the original TV show, Perry Mason is a defense attorney, as EB is now. So I can certainly see how they're pushing us there, where he takes
EB
up the mantle.
goes.
He feels for these people that need the help. He becomes like this, seeking justice defense attorney for the, for these people that need his assistance, his
Right.
work. So I know they're pushing us in that direction, but like how many seasons of this do they kind of want to do, right?
If I had to guess, just from like a storytelling standpoint, it doesn't really make sense to knock EB out until further towards along the end of the season. And if you want to go full like just taking a stab in the dark, you knock off EB after he's had the great success of actually closing this case and having his final hurrah or whatever, but then you have him perish or whatever in some manner, and that's when you have Perry start to step towards the direction of becoming what we know inevitably is a defense attorney.
So this I just pulled this it's Wikipedia up. It as it stands right now, it is considered a mini-series.
Yeah.
So they might push us right on up to him entering into law as this season ends. Now, you can always go more than one on a miniseries if everybody decides to come back for another round. But maybe they're kind of pushing it in that direction a little bit quicker than I realized.
Yeah, I also read that this has been very successful for HBO, like one of the best launches they've had in terms of a miniseries, perhaps ever, if I was reading correctly. I can't find the damn line that I was looking at earlier now, because of course I can't. But we're towards the back end of the episode. It doesn't matter. All in all, we'll continue to cover Perry Mason next week.
Yep.
Episode 5. Tell your people, bring them in, and we'll update y'all on social media, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, with what else we're going to bring in next week and do. I'm sure we'll have some more tidbits and such for those of you who are looking forward to that. And that will do it for today's episode of OCC. Huge thanks to our sponsor today, Leesa, Leesa.com/dragon. Go get 15% off any mattress for a limited time. The best beds in the entire world, Leesa.com/dragon. You can also support us here at OCC directly by going to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, and either joining the Crustacean Nation for $5, a $5 minimum pledge per month to support the show will get you 3 additional ad-free premium episodes of OCC in that month. Or you can join the Mollusk Militia for $10 and you'll get a 4th Mollusk Militia exclusive episode driven entirely by hotline calls from the Mollusk Militia exclusive hotline. It gives you a much better opportunity to get your call played, your question answered, your takes out there. So go to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. And this week, Barrett's going to be interviewing me.
Yeah.
Asking me questions about media, television, and film. Barrett, I saw a lot of these questions coming in.
A lot of them coming in on
questions
on the Twitter. Some very good questions. I've got some questions that I've listed out as well, which are also phenomenal.
You have already admitted
they're tremendous.
You've already admitted that you will also be interviewing yourself here.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it's going to be hard to not do that. We'll see. We're just going to have to see how it all shakes out.
It will make no sense. The format will be you ask me a question, I answer it, and then you give me your answer too. Because it makes no sense if you're asking me questions and then we don't hear like what your take on it as well.
I guess. Well, we might just have to do. There are a lot of good questions, and if we do it that way, then we're not going to get to as many of them. So we might just have to do a round 2
where
we'll switch the lead person, but we'll
new batch of questions.
New batch of questions.
Same subject matter though.
Same general subject matter. And some of the, I can do some that are, specifically more pointed towards you that I don't have to answer.
True.
And it'll all be good. It's going to be fun.
I can ask you questions about the Fast and the Furious franchise that I don't have the information on.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Go to patreon.com, patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles today. Support the show. Crustacean Nation, Mollusk Militia, we appreciate and love every single one of y'all who are there making sure that Barrett and I can continue to do this show for a living. Thank you. Thank you again. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Oysters, Clams, Cockles. We're on Twitter at Clams and Cockles. We're also on Facebook.com/Oysters, Clams, Cockles. You can follow me, Ross Bolen, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WRBolen, at WRBOLEN on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And also listen to my other show, the Ross Bolen Podcast, where we just recorded on Monday our first episode with Bolen Media employee number 2, Chris Colson, as my new co-host on RBP. The kid is 21. He's phenomenal. It was a huge moment for me to finally have somebody to co-host that thing with me. He's the, if you did an SAT analogy, me and Barrett are here, me and Chris are there. What do they do on SATs? It's like, this is to that as this, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, an analogy.
Analogy? Is that it? Did I have the right
Analogy?
word? Analogy?
Yeah.
Okay, analogy. An hourpist. I watched a couple of episodes of Arrested Development that didn't age very well the other day too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the Franklin jokes are really weird.
You know, I watched that pretty recently. I get why maybe in the very current climate.
Anything revolving around race and TV from an old show right now, I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
But it's probably fine.
It's probably fine.
Barrett, where can we follow you and hear more of your lovely voice?
At Barrett Dudley, Instagram and Twitter, and then check out the Club Cool podcast, where you're just going to get another dose of Ross and I
I'm fucking coming in
on
hot
the
this
mics together, because Ross is going to join me. And
what are we going to talk about?
It's going to be two worlds colliding, because we're going to talk about style, but we're going to talk about as it relates to Dave. I had a ton of people begging for chatter about
more Dave chatter
about Dave, and specifically his style over on the Club Cool. And
Dave on Hulu, for those of you who are
Phil
unaware.
was not watching, so I really didn't have a good opportunity to talk about it. You've obviously seen it.
I rated it my number one show so far of 2020 on Patreon.
Don't give them any more than that.
Okay.
They gotta pay for the rest of the list.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about Dave, and we're gonna talk about in general Dave's style, and how he kind of, for me, he embodies modern white guy style, where you care a little bit, and you're starting to experiment and kind of investigate, dive into this and that.
What do I like? What about this? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll try this.
yeah,
Okay, that kind of worked. Okay, this didn't work.
But then, but you're kind of still in the figuring it out stage. That's kind of the gist of what I got from Dave on the show.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about that, and then I'm sure that we'll have more to chat about over there. But it should be a fun episode.
Club Cool this Friday. I will be on there, and again, we'll be talking Dave and white guy style, which will be interesting, because I have none. Until our next helping, adios, muchachos.